Welcome all to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible people and organizations and the work that they do. I am your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders. I'm a power wheelchair user, a disability rights advocate, an attorney, and I love taking the time to break down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today, we're going to learn more about Mike Caprara and the Viscardi Center and the incredible work that they're doing. So welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Josh, I am the Chief Information Officer here at the Viscardi Center. I've been here for over 20 years. For those who don't know, the Viscardi Center is a nonprofit organization that educates, employs, and empowers adults and children with disabilities. We have a K through 12 school for children with disabilities, with a primary disability of physical, but then they also have an array of secondary disabilities as well. The students come to the Viscardi Center every day from the 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester County, and Nassau, Suffolk County on Long Island as well. They take the same curriculum. They're involved there. They're involved with adaptive sports. Independent living. They take the same Regents types exams that any New York State public school would take. But we also provide an array of assistive technologies as well to what we like to say levels the playing field for our students. Then we have our Abilities Inc. program, which is more on the adult side of things. We have vocational training, vocational evaluation, employment placement services, job coaching, to name a few. And then lastly, to kind of tie it all together, we have social enterprises here at the organization. We have digital accessibility services, where we work with strategic partnerships and alliances around the globe to ensure that companies' websites are fully inclusive and accessible for people with disabilities. We also provide document remediation services for PDFs and Word and PowerPoint type files, and also closed captioning services as well. We also started our National Center for Disability Entrepreneurship 2 years ago. We have a many cohorts from around the country that are participating in this program. We're actually in November, we're having what we call as our Pitch Fest, kind of like a Shark Tank competition for all the different the startup companies that are about to launch.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys do it all. It's incredible, the array of services that you provide to better the community, to better the world, and thank you for all that you do.
Yeah.
I know people are probably wondering, so what is your particular role and what does your day-to-day look like in order to achieve this incredible mission that you guys are on?
Sure. So I'm in charge of all aspects of technology for the organization, ranging from data center operations, network infrastructure, cybersecurity, to web hosting, to assistive technology, multimedia, video development, you name it. And that is also, I also run the digital accessibility services side of things as well, where we're constantly collaborating and strategically planning on, how can we make the world more inclusive, and, what alliances, how do we get the message out there, the outreach, awareness, education. That is all part of the day-to-day. I don't know how I actually fit it into the day-to-day, but we manage, and we've been quite successful at it.
That's awesome. Yeah, fitting it into the day-to-day. I just wish there was more hours, or that just everything could slow down. I don't know. There's just so much good to do, and so many people that need help. And I would love for you to just share, kind of be a little storyteller right now, and what is your favorite achievement or something that you're most proud of over the years that you've done with the Viscardi Center?
Well, Digital accessibility services has been quite an accomplishment. We launched that about 5 years ago, and we were actually providing some of the services already internally here. We started out because we are, and what Viscardi prides ourselves on is providing customized solutions for the individual. And we know that there are two people that could have the same disability, but they respond differently to different software applications, different assistive hardwares. So that's why we always feel there's no, one magic pill that's going to solve everything when it comes to accessibility. So we always prided ourselves in providing customized solutions. So we work with our occupational therapists, our assistive technologists, speech language pathologists as well, to ensure that we are working one-on-one with that individual and ensuring that they have the proper experience and the tools to complete coursework and go about their day. But with that being said, we were providing PDF and document remediation internally just for our students and staff. At the time, it was a very manual process, a lot of manual tagging and creating structure and reading order to those documents. But over time, we had gotten quite good at it. So we got to the point where can we harness this skill and offer it externally outside of our walls? And that's when we decided to come up with PDF and document remediation services. Again, when we first started, it was a very manual. There was a lot of growing pains, because it's a manual. It's going to be a very tedious and costly, service. So then we had to automate it. And what we've started doing is that we, with proprietary software and intelligence, we're able to automate the process and get us to today about 90% accessible through automation.
That's awesome.
Then with that, what we have accessibility or remediation specialists on staff, what we like to provide the final mile piece. And that by doing that, we achieve 100% accessibility with our documents, but also provide at least 6 checkpoints of quality assurance on each document. So once we were able to get that, we were able to scale the business. So in terms of turnaround time, what a manual solution could take days, weeks, to turn around documents, now we're able to scale up to at least 40,000 pages a month when it comes to that. So it's really been quite an adventure, and it's really starting to take off. Once we were able to kind of hone in on the PDFs, and we started touring the country at different shows, industry-related shows like a CSUN or an M-Enabling. We were getting asked a lot, okay, you guys do PDFs, but what about websites? What about captioning? And we got to the point where we didn't want to start sending people to other companies. We wanted to kind of have Viscardi control the experience. So that's when we started launching those other 2 services as well. We did not have the resources internally to provide website accessibility services and or auditing or usability type services. So we had developed strategic partnerships and alliances with industry leaders in that area, so that we can kind of broker the service and kind of be that go-to, that one-stop shop when it comes to accessibility, and then leading us into captioning as well when it comes to embedded videos, and also remote cart services for webinars and live virtual events, and even live in-person events we're providing captioning for. So we wanted, like I said, to be that one-stop shop for digital inclusion and the online, enhancing the online experience through digital accessibility services.
Cool. Making it easier, one-stop shop definitely
exactly
takes a lot of the confusion and the time and effort. Giving it to the experts to show you how to do it is I'm always for that. And then with your kiddos and the adults that you work with, like, what is it like to be able to get different technologies and services to them, like, and to watch what happens when somebody has the right accommodations or the right services in place?
Josh, I'm going to be honest with you. It's very fulfilling. When I first started here, we actually implemented Polycom view stations in every classroom. And what we had done was that we had virtual live field trips for our students, and because they physically could not go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York City, they could not go to the American History Museum, the Tenement Museum. So we wanted to bring that experience to them. And so what we did was we put Polycom cameras at the time, and we would work with the museums, with the tour guides, and kind of live stream before we had Teams and Zoom and WebEx and all those other platforms. We were able to do point-to-point video conferencing and bring that experience to our kids. And it was very, very fulfilling, where they would never have been able to experience walking through caves and walking through art galleries. And it was very fulfilling. There is one story that I do love to tell of a student that used to come to Viscardi every morning by ambulance. She was bedridden, and she really only had the movement in her finger, the tip of her finger, and her eye and her eyebrow. So we had implemented hardware like eye gaze type technology, Dynavox type technologies for her. And what that had done, in a lot of one-on-one time and really trying to train her to use those types of technologies, we like to say we unlocked the box. And she was able to once she was able to communicate with her peers and with her related service therapist, we couldn't get her to stop talking. And what happened was that she started writing poetry and became an author, and to the point where her poetry was presented to the United Nations because it was so brilliant. So being able to work one-on-one and to provide those types of customized solutions for these students and adults, like I said, it's very, very fulfilling. But we know, like I mentioned earlier, it's leveling the playing field. It's giving these students the opportunities to speak and communicate and to advance and ultimately become individuals and independent into our society.
That's incredible. It's opening doors. Like you talked about, being able to give these opportunities. Like, just all you need sometimes is a finger, an eyebrow, an eye, or just something. You have all these individuals have the abilities to be able to express themselves, but technology, to a certain degree over time, might not have been there at that moment. But then as it advances and it evolves, it breaks down doors. It gives you the ability to free yourself to the world. And it's seeing what that looks like, or what that hears, and what that power, what that can do. It's just, I love stories like that.
Yeah, and even to piggyback on that too, Josh, and like I brought up this story about using Polycom view stations and back in the mid 2000s for virtual field trips. But we've seen it evolve with the use of Zoom and WebEx and Teams now, where in the past, when a student or a participant of our programs would go out on a surgery or a medical leave, we may not see them again for a month, 6 weeks, where they're missing school, they're missing collaborating and discussing with their peers. With the advances of technology now, it's a push of a button. And there is no downtime anymore, and it really became evident where we were during the pandemic, because we were able to switch on a dime from in person to remote, and it was as if nothing has ever happened.
Good to be ready. So with a lot of people have different definitions of accessibility. I'm very curious, what does accessibility mean to you?
Access, just access. And so, it's accessibility could be so many different things, where it's a ramp, it's an elevator, in a building to give access to that building, or to get into your office space, or to get to your hotel room. Digital access, accessibility, having access to websites, being able to apply for a job, being able to find fulfilling employment, being able to purchase goods and services in the comfort of your home, especially when we're talking about people with disabilities. Transportation is always an issue. So that's why I think accessibility just means access, being able to access information without barriers.
I love that. And so you serve kind of a wide community, different ages, different abilities. But if you could have one message to send to business owners, what would it be to better serve or welcome the communities you serve?
I think you need to be open. You need to have patience. You need to ensure that creating an environment that is comfortable for people with disabilities, ensuring that they have access to the appropriate assistive hardwares and softwares that allow someone with a disability to fulfill their daily functions, being able to participate in meetings, being able to have access to their office. Again, I keep going back to that word access. It's really, we don't want to have people become frustrated and then they end up leaving the workforce. We want people with disabilities to be employed, have a comfortable experience just like anybody else would when they go to the office, and to be able to fulfill their job duties.
There's so much for disability employment. There's trouble navigating the system because there's the Social Security element, there's the Medicaid element, and there's different things, but there's government programs out there that can help people navigate that so they don't have to do it alone. And there's organizations like your own that help navigate that as an employment network or different things of that nature. And it's just so much for me is when you get somebody to be employed with a disability, there's this success there, but then there's the next step of maintaining that employment. And with the right tools in place and the right reasonable accommodations, there's no reason why a person with disability cannot maintain and thrive and contribute in incredible ways to businesses.
Absolutely. And that's one of the other services that we do provide. We work with a lot of businesses and a lot of Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, and provide training on workplace accommodations, hiring and employing and retaining adults with disabilities, employees with disabilities. We talk about self-disclosure, self-ID, to let people be more aware that you do have a disability and you may need some accommodations, and not to get frustrated. And we teach people about patience as well. So it's really, that's why I've been here for 20 years, Josh, to be quite honest with you, because this organization really is there to help people and really to educate and to really bring people together and find fulfilling employment for these adults with disability.
I want to end on, if you could talk to anybody in the world, any celebrity, anybody of power, or just anybody, it doesn't even have to be a celebrity, who would that be and why?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I might have to think about this for a second here. To be quite honest with you, I would like to talk to some politicians. I would like to start talking to maybe members of Congress and start talking about them and say, listen, there is an untapped wealth of knowledge when it comes to people with disabilities. There is an untapped wealth of business opportunities when it comes to people with disabilities. And, and I really think that, when it comes to regulations and it comes to enforcement of certain regulations, in particular when it comes to the digital accessibility side, that needs to be more enforced. We're looking at, the state of Colorado had just passed a tremendous law that is requiring their state agencies to provide full inclusion on their web and digital experience for their websites and their documents and applications. We need to get the states and the politicians and even at the federal level need to start mandating some of these regulations on these agencies so that people with disabilities have equal access to when it comes to elections and voting, being able to get COVID-19 vaccine information appropriately and where to go find a testing site or a vaccine site. That's who I would like to talk to, because it's really important for people with disabilities to have access to that, and also to find proper transportation to get to those sites and so forth. And I think it's only going to happen if we have some regulations that come down and then we start really enforcing this. As of right now, we have guidelines, but me, Josh, I don't like to get into the lawsuit back and forth, but discussion. But it's unfortunately that's the only real enforcement of what's enforcing of these regulations.
Well, I love that answer, because that's how we get things changed. That's how we change the world. And if anybody today wanted to learn more about the Viscardi Center, what is your website? How can they reach you?
Sure. So you can visit us at viscardicenter.org. You'll find information about all of our programs. If you want to find information about our school, it's henryviscardischool.org. On there, you'll find, like I said, more information. It's more academia type of information about the school, but the Viscardi Center site will talk all about our programs, our digital accessibility services, our fundraising events. We have 4 major fundraising events a year, including what we call as our Celebrity Sports Night event every May, where we have athletes and celebrities from all over come, and it's a wonderful night. So we're able to bring in some major fundraising in one night. So it's really an experience.
Well, thank you for coming here today and sharing your story, the Viscardi Center story, and it's just this was fun. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and look forward to continue on this good fight with you.
Thank you very much, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Mike.